If you're thinking of applying for the P3 visa, watch this video for an overview and tips and tricks on how to apply. Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and I'm an immigration attorney. Today we will be talking about the P3 culturally unique visa. So if you're an artist or entertainer that's coming to the United States to either teach, perform, or coach either individually or as a group at a culturally unique event, then this visa may be for you. So the clearest example of this visa would be if you were like an Indian classical dancer or maybe like a Chinese dancer coming to the United States to either perform or teach your art form at some kind of cultural event, then you want to apply for the P3 visa. So you can get this visa for a maximum of 1 year, and then you can continue to extend it in 1 year increments. So how do you apply? Let's go through all the requirements right now. So the first thing you need to apply for the P3 visa is a petitioner. So a petitioner sometimes is known as the sponsor, but that's actually an incorrect name. You want to call the person a petitioner because a sponsor means something totally different in an immigration context. So your petitioner could either be a US citizen working in your field or a US based company in your field as well, and that is a proper petitioner. So a lot of people ask me, what exactly does a petitioner do? Practically speaking, what the petitioner does is basically requests from immigration saying that, hey, I want you, the beneficiary, to come to the United States, presumably because the petitioner either wants to work with you or to basically be your agent. So an agent in this context basically means that it's a go-between between you, the petitioner, and the employer. It's not like casting agent or anything like that. And the advantage of your petitioner being your agent is that you get to be able to freelance with different people. If the petitioner is not your agent, it means that you are going to have to work with the petitioner throughout your entire period on the P3 visa. If the petitioner is your agent and you have multiple employers, you're going to be able to freelance with different people. So I get a lot of questions in terms of like the petitioner, and sometimes people ask me like, okay, so if I get into trouble, like if I'm the beneficiary, does my petitioner get into trouble? The answer is no. If I go to jail, does my petitioner go to jail? The answer is no. If I owe people money, does my petitioner owe people money? The answer is no. So that's pretty much it in terms of who could be a petitioner. I would just say like find someone that you really can trust, because if the relationship goes south for any reason, the petitioner can definitely write to immigration and end your visa. So the second thing you need to apply for the P3 visa is a written consultation letter from a labor organization. So basically the way this works is that you figure out what labor organization sort of governs your art form. So if you are like a musician, you're going to want to go to the American Federation of Musicians. If you're more like an actor, dancer kind of person, you might want to consider the American Guild of Musical Artists. Every single one of these organizations has its own requirements, so you should find out exactly what those requirements are and then apply accordingly. You don't have to be part of the labor organization in order to apply. All you need to do is submit whatever appropriate fee that they deem necessary, as well as give them documentation of your P3 visa, and you should be good to go. The third and the fourth thing that you're going to need in order to apply for your P3 visa is, firstly, contracts. So you're going to need some kind of contract between you and the petitioner, or maybe you and your multiple employers, for your period of stay to show that you're actually going to be working in the United States. So what exactly needs to be in a contract is basically going to have your name, the employer's address, what exactly you're going to be doing, the term of the engagement, and how much you're going to get paid. And all of these contracts are basically going to be condensed into like an itinerary. So an itinerary is like a calendar of events that basically says that, you know, from January to February, you're going to be working on this event, March to April, you're going to be working on that event, and so on and so forth, and you're going to fill out the entire year. If you give them an itinerary that's less than an entire year, they will give you the visa for the amount of time of the itinerary. If you give them an itinerary that's longer than a year, the maximum that they can give you is only 1 year. So you definitely are going to need the contracts and the itinerary in order to show that you're going to be working in the United States for that 1 year, and these contracts have to be valid and have all these little details that I just talked about. So the fifth thing that you need in order to apply for the P3 culturally unique visa is to prove that, your work is actually culturally unique. And you can do this in one of two ways. So first of all, letters of recommendation. So the letters of recommendation have to be written by experts in the field. So if someone's been working in the field for a while, then they're considered an expert in the field. If they just graduated yesterday, not an expert in the field. And the letters of recommendation have to talk about your skills as a culturally unique individual. So you're going to want to get a lot of examples in terms of how exactly does this person know that your work is culturally unique? Give lots and lots of strong examples in terms of your work, as well as maybe give examples in terms of your experience in the field, how long you've been working, who you've been working with, the organizations, and maybe any kind of awards that you might have gotten. The second way is to show published material. So published material, in a sense, basically means press. If you can get things like interviews or reviews of your work, or maybe some kind of thing in a trade journal that basically talks about your work as a culturally unique individual, and maybe how you're contributing to a community or something like that, that would be super helpful in terms of showing that your work is culturally unique. And finally, the last thing you're going to need is to prove that the event that you're coming for is also culturally unique. So for example, even if your work is culturally unique, let's say you're an Indian classical dancer or something, and you're coming here for a festival that has to do with singing. So, that's not necessarily something that really matches up with your culturally unique thing. So for example, if you're an Indian classical dancer, ideally you're going to want to come to the United States to teach or coach Indian classical dance, or perform at an event that is culturally unique, that maybe it's has to do with Indian culture, or where you're performing as an Indian classical dancer, that sort of thing. So you're going to need to prove documentation that the thing that you're coming for is actually going to be culturally unique as well. And basically, those are the few things that you're going to need to apply for the P3 visa. If you have any questions, please comment below. If not, like and subscribe, and we can continue this conversation about work visas in the United States.